Okay, we're rolling. You can start in five, four, three, two, one.
We are here on another episode of Address It. I got Wanda Carter, Miss No Excuses, here with me today. How you doing?
I'm doing well today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Well, tell me about No Excuses, man. Where that come from?
I just, I got a bachelor's in business management. I went to college straight out of high school, and I wanted to do something with my degree. I really didn't have no lane or no specific, department that I wanted to focus on. And then I seen this post on social media, and it said like, you can literally accomplish whatever you put your mind to if you just eliminate excuses every day, and it just stuck with me, and from there, that's when I got, the logo and did my trademark and everything like that. But it's just literally like working with the students and, seeing our community, how it is every day. If we could just eliminate an excuse every day, it could make your life better, literally.
So just eliminate an excuse every day.
Can make your life better.
So it's not no excuses, like you.
None.
Okay. So we had to reschedule. You wasn't pissed off at me?
No, not at all.
I'm like, dang, I had to reschedule on No Excuses. Dang, that's crazy. But so what are you doing? What are you into now though, as far as work?
I'm a special ed teacher for Minneapolis Public School
Okay. Where at?
at Riverbend Education Center, the level 4.
Okay. What grades is that though?
It's K through 8, but I'm a middle school teacher, so I work with 6 through 8.
How do you become a special ed teacher? Is there different qualifications or?
Yeah, you have to have at least a bachelor's degree. It doesn't matter what it's in, because if clearly, my bachelor's in business. So as long as you got those credits that equal up to a bachelor's degree, our district actually offers a great program. It's like a grow your own program where you can gain your master's degree and your teacher's license in 1 year instead of 2. It's super advanced. It's like a 16 to 18 month program that they offered. It started off as like for general ed teacher license, but then they seen they needed more support in special ed, so they revamped the program, and now it's called the residency through the Minneapolis Public School District.
So is that all you deal with?
Yep,
Okay.
special ed,
And what grade did you say?
6th through 8th.
6 to 8. So what's working? What's not working in the school system for our students?
And it's a lot that is working. Just showing up every day, them teachers showing up every single day, trying no matter what yesterday looked like, it actually makes a difference, and the more black educators that our community have, especially Minneapolis Public School, that makes a difference, and to me, it's like what's not working is, not being able to build that community and that relationship with our students because you may not have experienced what they have.
Why do you think that's so important though for, I guess, teachers of color?
Because like we can relate to the students of color, or even the students that's in a minority setting, really, because the same experience is what they're exposed to. We also are as well, or we was at a point of time, and it's just like if you can experience something, you know what to do and what not to do. So then you can teach the ones that that's not quite there yet.
So is it getting better though, as far as the amount of black teachers?
At the moment, no, I can honestly say. There's more black educators actually dropping out, or going to find other positions or, things like that, because it can become so difficult. And we're not the seniority teachers, so soon as that new budget come, you might be the first one to have to move. You might be the first one to have to find a different school.
But they changed that recently, right?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
But right now, that's why, this vote on November 8th is so important, because there are candidates that want to take that out of our contract to where we can get it accessed, and to me, just from experience, I've been accessed twice since I've been in, the district. I've been a licensed teacher 3 years, and I've already been was going to be accessed.
What do you mean by that, access?
Meaning that when that new budget come, if that position isn't there, It goes by the seniority list. Who's
Right.
been the teacher longer? Those are the first picks. And because we don't have black educators that's been in our district for so long, we're new. You know, we the first ones, you know, to go.
So you would say that was a win then, that law being in place?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
So you saying it's candidates now that would like to reverse that?
Yes.
And what would be their reason for reversing that?
I'm not sure, honestly. I guess they feel it's not important or it may not be fair, you know, to other teachers. But like again, like the more black educators we get, especially in our community, the more we can connect with these students, you know, which makes a difference.
What's the hardest thing about being a teacher though?
I would definitely say just trying to be consistent as possible, you know, not taking anything personal because you got to understand these students are dealing with real trauma. Everything we see on the TV and in the world, they see it too. They're experiencing too. They're affected by it as well. Most of them really don't even know what's going on and they're affected by it. You know, so then at that point, how are they supposed to react? So to me, it's just, you know, just being consistent, you know, continuously, you know, building that relationship because that's what makes this job hard is when you do not have that relationship. Because this generation is different.
Yeah. But I mean specifically like a task. What's the hardest?
I would definitely say just the due process work. You know, that's just like being a special ed teacher. These students have certain disabilities and you have to have paperwork on that, you know, and just trying not to be as biased as possible. I don't like it because it's like I'm writing who this student is exactly just based off of these experiences, but we don't see them outside of this school. You know what I mean?
So
We
it's like
don't.
a piece of the picture.
Exactly, it's just a piece of it, and I'm supposed to tell you about this student based off of that. And most of the time, students aren't themselves at school. You know what I mean? So it's like, to me, it's just like trying not to be biased and just making stuff up.
So you said it's called due process?
Yep, due process
So-
paperwork, like IEPs, evaluations, stuff like that, 504 plans, accommodations.
Okay. So is that like, are you like diagnosing?
No, they already are diagnosed at that point, but I'm just basically talking about like how their disabilities affecting their education, you know, affecting their grades, their schoolwork, them being in a classroom, behavior, their learning styles, stuff like that.
So I forget what it's called, but some people suggest that special ed students and I don't know what word to use, but normal students,
Mainstream students.
mainstream. Yeah. What do you think about that? Do you think that's the way to? I mean, that they should be combined in the classroom setting, and it would help both.
It honestly depends on the student because these students have different learning styles. You know, they learn in different ways, each and every individual student. That may work for some, but that may not work for others. You know, and that, to me, that just depends on their experiences. You know, how much trauma they've experienced or how much support they have at home, you know.
Do you think trauma can be used as an excuse though sometimes? 'Cause, you
Yes.
know, in today's age, you could say trauma for anything. You could say, you know.
Yep,
you
yep,
may
yep.
go
I
on,
agree.
You know.
To me, it's like a 50-50 situation because I've seen where people have like where like students have used that as an excuse. You know what I mean? And then there's other students that like you really see it in them. You know, they express it or advocate it to you. You know how it's affecting them. You know, and to me, that's just how well do you know that student? What type of relationship do you have? You know, it always comes down to that.
What do you think the social media effect on school? How does that how are kids different today than let's say when we were in school?
Man, I'm gonna just start by just writing in general. You know what I mean? We used to write papers. We used to do paper worksheets and stuff. Mostly now everything is online. You know, kids can barely write because everything is on a screen. So it's like they have to do less now. than what we did.
Are they still doing spelling tests and stuff like that?
Yes,
heard-
and I've experienced at some buildings, and then at other buildings I have not.
But I mean, I'm talking about like a lot of kids have a phone in school. You know, they be on Snapchat. They doing that,
which
like
takes away from, being able to pay attention, like their attention span and catching that instruction. And I can definitely say social media has affected education in a way where kids don't even, they are sitting their phone the whole time, the lecture, and then when the quiz come, they got 1,000 questions, But the school I'm at, there is no cell phones in my classroom. They take them straight through the door, but that's not at all schools. That's just at the level 4 school, But I have experienced buildings, even high school, where kids could have phones literally cussing teachers out because they don't want to put their phone away.
earphones and stuff in.
Stuff like that, like you literally will get into an argument because they don't want to put their electronic down. And it's like at that point, it's like you're literally affecting your education to the point where it's the basics that you're not getting because you're so hooked on the social media or what's going on. And then like, don't let nothing crazy is going on, like something trending or a fight or something, like that's what they're tuned into, literally.
I want to talk about like parent engagement though. Like,
Okay.
From what you see in our community, how is the parent engagement?
I would say it's like a 60-40, honestly. And it just depends on what school. I've experienced schools over South Minneapolis and North Minneapolis. It's a lot more parent involvement over South Minneapolis. And that's just, K through 12, And a lot of times we are to blame when it comes to the parents, of what's going on. So it's like, to me, it takes a community literally from schools to the household to what's happening in the community. Because, with the parents not being involved, it's like, how can we understand the student if we haven't even seen the parent talk to them,
Yeah. So, I mean, what have you seen the difference between how we used to be held accountable versus how they are now? Or do you see any, the students, from their parents specifically?
Oh, yeah, our parents definitely held us way more accountable. Now it's just like, as long as the kid go to school, you out of my house, that's the expectation. Kids are literally getting in trouble in school, fighting, starting riots, all of that. And then they're getting every Jordan release. They got PS5s, all of these things where it's like these are privileges, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, we can't continue to reward students when they're not, understanding how, difficult you're gonna make your life be by not learning these basics.
So basically, they cutting up in school and they able to still.
And nothing is happening. So then they come back and they're gonna do the same thing the next day. It's like there's no lessons being learned. Everything's a learning experience. And it starts from not only with the teacher, but with your parents as well. And that is always based off of how, your household was growing up and how your parents, what they experienced. So, it's literally a domino effect from generation to generation.
So, I mean, what have you seen? How do you get the best results? I mean, knowing all of that, everything you got to deal with, how do you, in today's time, get the best results from students?
My number one thing is building a relationship. I want my students to come in my classroom and be themselves, feel like they can be themselves. I don't want you walking on eggshells or acting like you have to be this perfect student. No, be yourself so I can help you make those corrections or teach you these certain lessons. You know what I mean? Because if they don't do that, then it's like, again, how am I supposed to not be biased in this paperwork if I really don't have this relationship with this student? And that is, just starting off as behavior. That's what, I started to see before I even got my license. That's honestly what encouraged me to get my license because I will have a better relationship than the teacher. You know, the student respect me more than the teacher.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I was in that position, I can imagine, you know what I mean, the difference I can make. You know, it probably ain't every single kid, but I know I can reach somebody, you know what I mean? And, you know, that's my goal.
But I mean, that's a lot of stress on yourself on
Yeah.
your mind. And I'm just say this for a lot of teachers though. How does that affect you? Like going home, your home life and everything. You got to carry all of that home.
To me, I just try to leave it at the door. You know, when I walk out the building, whatever happened that day, what I experienced is leave it at the door as much as I can. You know what I mean? If you need to vent, get it out. You know, you need to write it, whatever. Because you literally can experience trauma in this building and then go home and experience your own trauma. You know, so you have to be able to leave it at the door. You know, understand that experience of the day and move on forward and learn from it.
Do you I asked you like how the best results a lot of people, well I shouldn't say a lot of people. Some people feel that outdoor learning would enhance people's experience at school. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like some people, learning outside, their classrooms being outside, it's talking.
You get more engagement. If I was to go outside and do a science experiment, they'd be fully engaged the whole entire time. And I'm saying the top behavior students in the district, the students that everybody's like, oh my gosh, you know, like when I tell people I work at this school, it's like, ooh, I'm gonna pray for you. And it's like, to me, what are you praying for? You know, these students, you know, they need as much support as any other student. They need the most support, you know? So to me, being outside, from my experiences, I've always had a great lesson or great engagement, less behaviors. You know, it's something that they probably have never experienced before or something they never thought they can do, you know? And just being active, you know, as much as possible.
So as far as the recruitment, is there anything being done to bring in more teachers of color, or like is there a plan around that?
From what I know of, not really, not throughout our district, you know. Like again, the residency program that I went through, it's a great program for Black educators to get in right away. I can definitely say that.
And how does that work again?
You just have to have a bachelor's degree and work for the district, and then you just apply. You do an interview thing. They pick 15 students for a cohort.
You have to have had worked for the district, you said?
Yeah, I think like you got to be a current MPS employer.
Okay.
And then, you go interview, do the interview process, and you get picked. It's 15 per cohort. I was cohort 3, so I was one of the earlier ones. And I think, and honestly, it was 3 to 4 Black educators out of that 15.
So how do you handle, like, when you call home or something, trying to explain a kid is having issues and the parent blames you, or it's defensive? It's real defensive.
To me, it's just trying to get the parent to understand what's going on. You know, I always start off with a positive. You know, this, it was going well, this and that, but this is what happened. You know, and when they become defensive, do you need anything that I can support you with, or if you would like to come in? You know, there's other alternatives. So I just put other alternatives on the table. Completely stay calm. Take nothing personal. You know.
Do you get that a lot though?
No, honestly, because I have great relationships with my students, so I don't have to worry about it. Even when they're upset, you know, I still have gotten cursed out or, you know, threatened or whatever, you know. But because I do have that relationship, you know, a student has never lied or made up a story or anything like that, which I've definitely seen across the board, you know. But just continuously, you know, just trying to be supportive as much as possible, giving them out different alternatives and choices. Like, hey, how would you like to handle this? Listening to how the parent feel, regardless if they're wrong or if they're heated. But yeah.
So do you believe in the No Child Left Behind?
No, because to me, it takes away the accountability. You know what I mean? Like, we have, especially at a high school, middle school level, at some point, we got to start teaching these students to be accountable for their actions and what they're doing. And if I get all Fs and I move forward to the next grade, I haven't learned anything all year, that's going to continue to happen. Now, boom, I can't graduate. I can't do the GED test because I did not learn the basics. So it's like, to me, it's a domino effect of continuously, hurting our community. You know what I mean? Because if we're not holding them accountable or trying to get them to understand how serious this is, then how will it ever stop? Because before, who wants to be a super senior? Or who wants to go back to,
Right.
you feel me? You don't want that embarrassment, first off, So it's like, at some point, it's going to click like, okay, I need to pay attention because I ain't trying to, But now, that ain't happening. They don't, it don't matter to me because I'm going to the next grade regardless. But it stops once you become a senior and you look up and you got 19 credits as a senior. At that point, would you continue to go to school?
Probably not. No.
So then now we have more dropouts. The dropout rate has went sky high since that no student left behind.
So what do you say about people that feel that school doesn't teach you nothing, or doesn't teach you much? I ain't gonna say nothing. Doesn't teach you much that's transferable to life.
Honestly, I'm not sure because to me it's like you need to know the basics regardless. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I try and focus on is stuff that the basic things that they are going to use in life. You know what I mean? Stuff that I've experienced, stuff that I've seen as an adult. Like, you are going to need this. And I make that clear in my instruction. This is when you're going to use this in your adult life, so they can understand how important. But like, to the people that feel like, you might not be getting all like enough, it's like you need something though,
Yeah. But do you need to go to school to get it?
A
school setting, I should say. Everybody needs to learn.
Right.
But I guess the setting of
but
school.
outside of school, what other setting can they go learn that at?
I mean, if you're, depending on the type of parent you have, they can put you through stuff, or
homeschool. You know what I mean? Probably smaller schools, privates, charters. People do go that route. But like, even outside of public, private, and charter, like, honestly, where's another alternative for people to learn the basics or learn what they are going to use? Like, that's just a thought.
Some people trying to bring their kids with them to work every day and just had to tag along so they could just see the practical life experience stuff.
Okay. And then that can follow to, is that your child's dream, your work? What if they want something different, but they're coming to work with you every day and that's the only thing that they're learning?
So, I mean, it seems like these kids, though, today, they're not motivated by much at all.
And honestly, that's where I got the drive for no excuses, is seeing, like, I'm literally afraid for our future, literally. Like, yes, there are those excellent students, advanced, though there is some in there.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's more so now these students, when you ask, what are you interested in? What do you want to be? A rapper or a basketball player? The only answer I get. Literally, for like the past, 5 years? Remind you, these students are in middle school. There ain't on no team, nothing, but they want to go to the NBA.
So you're saying they're not even working working.
It's what they see. Oh, I could be that person, and in social media, you can live whatever life you want on social media.
Yeah.
So it's like, but there's no motivation to do the hard work to get there. Same with rapping. I ain't against rapping, It's about the content you rapping about, But what work are you putting in? Are you writing rhymes? Are you spitting to yourself? Soon as one of my students tell me they want to be a rapper, I'm turning on the instrumental. What's up?
Yeah.
Tell me what you got.
Yeah. You gotta prove yourself. You can't say you going to the league, but you ain't worked out and
ain't no basketball team, no traveling team, no park team, no nothing. So then now, you know what I do? I break down how to get to the NBA. You literally start, if your name ain't buzzing in middle school to high school, you're not going to the NBA. Think about it. Everybody can't go to the NBA.
I mean, there's exceptions, but that's the 5% or whatever.
Exactly.
Because there's some people that do. The biggest thing is, how do you figure out how to motivate them to do something?
I don't push, you have to go to college. No, you have to have a plan.
Right.
Know what that plan is. Understand yourself now and your interests now. And honestly, I just, through my own experiences, I flaunt my clothing brand, cars and all, cool cars and all that. And I use that to show them, like, you don't have to go on the streets and get this type of stuff.
I think that's super important. I feel like positive people don't brag enough to the kids.
And you have to. Challenger, Jeep, all that. Yes, I'm showing my students.
Yeah.
This what I drive. Yeah. That's your clothing brand? Yes, this me. I wear it every single day.
Because they think you can only reach that by doing other stuff you ain't supposed to do.
That you ain't supposed to do. Yeah. And I try to teach them, no, if you eliminate the negativity, the excuses, the stuff that's stopping you from being positive, then you can find your way. If you're not getting out there trying things, positive things, how are you ever going to get positive? If you're only influenced by negative things, then you're going to get negative. If you only speak negative, then that's what you're going to get. And I make that very clear, so I honestly just use my clothing brand to try to help motivate these students. Like, you can have these things by doing the right thing, or like really following real dreams that you're working hard to get, and you're understanding, and you want to, wake up and you're excited to go to that job every day. That makes a big difference. But it's with the social media, it is hard to get these kids to be motivated.
Does that work though?
It do sometimes. They question me about it, and man, that's nice. How you get that car? I come here every day with y'all. Oh, okay. Yes, that's all, And some, at least it's in their mind, they thinking about it. They might come back to it, But then again, like, it is hard going up against social media and the negative influences that they only put out there, like, which doesn't make sense. If this is, hurting motivating our students, like, then we got to push the positive content more.
I mean, it's just like it's being pushed that everybody just has to be a big deal. You got to be a star. You got to be rich.
Yeah. Or the most important person. Or
what I didn't understand, and this is a little bit older than it was high school, but homecoming looked like prom this year. I'm dang, what y'all gonna do with this prom?
I know, man. Prom be crazy. They spending $5,000 on outfits, man.
They got to, cause homecoming they spent.
That's what I'm saying. It's looking like our prom. Homecoming is looking like our prom.
Like, we used to wear mics and all, and just regular clothes, but I seen rental cars. I seen Cinderella dresses.
They trying to, you got to keep up with the Jones, and you got to keep up with what they see on social media.
Right.
Which sucks, because it's like, you don't have to be that. You don't have to try to, get to that level or be like whatever you see on social media. Find yourself. Find who you actually is, what you're interested in, and focus on that. And I feel like our students would be way more motivated.
So I mean, would you agree that all they really motivated by is money? A lot of kids.
That they think that, man, students think they finna graduate and all this money is finna just be pouring in. Like, and I'm like, how though? What are you gonna be doing? Okay, so, and understand if they don't know the basics, as in what taxes is, you know what I mean? Why they take taxes out of our, how they gonna ever understand money for real? Half these kids don't even know how to count money. But they, it's finna come when I'm 18, I'm grown and I'm finna have all this. And my first question is how? Please, let's sit down and I want you to write this down and tell me how.
Not that I don't believe you, but I just want to believe you.
Exactly, like.
What about sexuality though in school though? Now they got, they working on, what do you got? Gender neutral bathrooms or like transgender bathrooms. Like, when is that okay? Like, at what age do you feel that kids should be exposed to that?
Man, I would definitely say teenagers, definitely. Only because when you're so young, your brain is still developing. It's a lot of things you really don't even understand yet because your brain, it ain't there yet, So it's like, and then it's all about trends. When I was growing up, of course, there were other LGBTQ students and stuff like that, but not this many where it's like a trend now, so to me, it's like wait or put it in, an environment where at least the students can try and understand that you don't have to follow a trend. You know what I mean? How can a first grader understand that?
Yeah.
And then like people are teaching different things in their households, which can lead to more destruction with that. Because now y'all are expecting kindergartners and second graders to out themselves, because if I feel like I'm gender neutral or whatever, and I as a little girl go into the boys' bathroom because I feel like that's you're a target at this point, so it's like, to me it's like, are you protecting your kids for real? Like, that's just really how I look at it, And it's like, if it's not being taught at home, we don't teach it at school other than, respect each other, stuff like that. But if it's not teaching it in depth, if it's not being taught in depth at home for a child to even understand, how they gonna understand why these kids is laughing and picking on them? Because in their mind, my mom, it's okay because social media said it, or because I seen it somewhere, or, and there are those select few that may understand, but to me, it causes more problems in school, honestly.
Do you still see a lot of like bullying?
Yes. Oh my gosh, on a whole nother level. Like, when we were growing up, it might be a couple bullies that might be just doing too much. Everybody doing too much.
And then you get bullied online.
And then it starts online, then it's coming to school, and then back online, and then it's more at school, and then it's just boom, 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 boom. And then these kids aren't even taking accountability in their own actions. Oh no, it's them, but they doing the same thing,
What about safety though in the schools? Again, some of this stuff is more high school, but like, how are measures being to ensure safety for our kids? I mean, as far as like weapons getting into the schools,
Man.
gang banging, this
Yeah.
all of that.
It's a lot of that happening. Honestly, without like it being a police officer at that school present all day long, it becomes difficult even for a behavior dean. You know what I mean? We ain't in no gangs. You know what I mean? But these kids really take this stuff serious. Like, it's their life. That's all they care about, is being in the streets, being with their homies, doing things you're not supposed to be doing. Like, it's a rush today. It's like GTA. Like they real life trying to live GTA, you know? So it's like when you coming up against that, you know, the best thing you can do is build a relationship and try to teach different, like honestly, because it can become very unsafe, like seriously. Like we definitely experience a lot of unsafe things and understand I'm at the level 4, so students that's coming to us, they had to have done something very extreme in that mainstream school, you know? So it's like trying to teach them what they did was, you know, not cool with it, or it was a very unsafe thing, you know, and to not do it again, like that is the hard part right there.
So you deal with kids with special needs, and so that has to do with like learning disorders.
It could be learning or behavior. Like I work with emotional behavior disorders, EBD.
Okay.
So it's like, it's just more so your behavior, not necessarily your learning style and you know having a learning disability, because those are two totally different things. You know, you can have great behaviors and still have a learning disability.
Right.
You know, or you can have great grades or like great learning style, but have high behaviors from trauma or anxiety or not being able to cope with what you're experiencing. You know, because like most students, they're taught to, it's like the fight, flight, or freeze. It's fight right away. You know, go from 0 to 10 right away. It don't matter what. Ain't nobody gonna disrespect me. And they don't even understand the difference between someone supporting them and disrespecting them. You know, like you may not like what I'm saying, but it's important for you to understand it though. You know, so then like that's, you know, the thing to try to get them to see the difference in.
Do you think parents are too friendly with kids?
Yes, especially the girls. Especially the girls. Cannot treat your kids like your friends or your homies, or, you know, give them too much freedom, especially with everything that's going on in our community. Like, you can't do that because they will become victim to it. Then at that point, parents are losing their power. So if a student don't care about what their mama say to them or do, you think they're going to care about what a teacher say?
Right.
You know, and I've experienced a lot of those students, and some I've been able still to build a great relationship, and some was just too far gone to it's like, you know, all you can do is try to be whatever support they need because they're not getting it at home, or, you know, their parents are too busy allowing them to do their own thing, and, you know, no structure at all.
Teachers, do you feel teachers are underpaid still?
Yes,
even
for
after
sure.
even after the strike?
Yes.
Okay.
There's no way that more than 50% of our district is getting paid under $80,000. Inflation is crazy right now. The cost of living is only going up.
Are they talking about going back on strike?
There's something going on where they're trying to take the thing with black teachers not being accessed. They're really trying to take that out of our contract. And then they're asking, like, are you sure you need this? Are you sure you need that type thing? So, like, right now, we all trying to come together and fight against it because it's like, yes, we need this. That's why it's there. That's why we went outside and stood out there, because these things is what we see every day in these classrooms. So if we see from our experiences in the classroom, we bring it to the table like, hey, this is what we're experiencing. This is what we need to be successful or to at least reach these students. You know, how are y'all making the decisions? And you're not, like, the generations each year is different. It's changing. So it's like, to me, it's like the ones that are higher up, if you're not in these classrooms every day or at least a couple times out the month, how do you know exactly what these students in these classes in these buildings need?
So would you say, you know, things like going on strike, do you think that hurts the students more though?
It definitely can in a way, because the more time they're out of school, the more time they fall victim to what's going on in the streets. So it's like during that time, if they not in school, then they might be outside experiencing something they're not supposed to, or get, you know what I mean? To me, it just leaves more room for them to make an excuse to why they, you know what I mean, or get into something they not supposed to. So to me, in my, just from my experience, I definitely feel like it could have possibly hurt the students education-wise, being out that long. And then now we got these extended days,
What they added to the school year?
Yep. They added like an extra hour or two to our day, and they extended the school year 2 weeks. So, them last 2 weeks, students is like, man,
That extra hour.
Man, the extra hour, you know what I mean? Because they brain capacity, like, it'd be too much. Especially, you gotta think, if you got 6 to 8 classes in high school, and now you gotta be there extra 2 hours learning, like, people don't understand when you're taking in that much information in one day, every single day, that itself could be traumatizing for students. Like, I also coach high school volleyball for South High School. I'm the head coach. And my players take mental days because it'd be so much. And I don't know when did it switch to where it's like, even doing school is too much for these students. Because back in the day, it's like, we're taught to, be tough, you know what I mean? To be able to get through it, even mentally. But now, it's so much trauma going on that they can't even handle that capacity, just doing a full school day of learning and just not being overwhelmed or having anxiety.
But how do you balance that? Because, again, I asked a little bit earlier, but like, that could so easily be used as an excuse, though.
Yes, it can.
They can be, something's going on at home, so I didn't do my work. Something happened, I got a family issue, so I'm not doing this, or this is why I'm acting up. How do you distinguish what's really what and attack both of them effectively?
To me, I just always try and, sit down and try to talk to that student or player to try to understand, like, what supports do you need, And if we put more supports in places, to me, maybe we'll have less students using this excuse or having these type of days, And I mean, like, possibly therapy in schools, you know what I mean? Instead of go find a therapist, or, because it's only so much social workers and guidance, counselors can do, But, like, again, like, just trying to get them to not use that
Therapy,
excuse.
like maybe as a class or something?
Possibly, teaching that, or teaching students about the brain and anxiety. We don't teach about anxiety. You know what I mean? Now we have input social emotional learning into our curriculum, which is amazing. Basically trying to get students to understand their emotions. Why do you get angry? What triggers you to get angry? How do you calm down? What works for you? Stuff like that. So that's possibly teaching students more about the brain and more about anxiety and teaching them about these things.
What about like the culture, diversity, and history for our curriculum? Do you think is it doing better, or is it still the same?
I would say it's still the same. We don't push teaching the real culture of what's going on in America. We don't push it. We barely have any activities for Black history. We have a history day, you know what I mean? But how many of those students are choosing Black history to teach or to learn? And I think that's where we're lacking at. It's like teaching, history repeats itself in a way, So if they don't know the history, the real history, how are we supposed to expect them to not repeat it or, to learn from it to do better?
And we got to get more than just the 4 or 5 people they teach us about.
Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman. Literally, like, I literally have students that don't know who Huey P. Newton is, that don't know Emmett Till. So when I get wind of this, that's what we learning. I teach Black history all year. I teach the curriculum I'm supposed to, but in, a minority's eyes. You know what I mean? So like right now, I'm teaching my students about the Constitution. You know, they didn't even know what that was. And understand when this was getting written, this is where we was, you know? Like, understand that. And that's why it's important to me to just not only teach about World War I, II, and III, you know? Teach what's really going on. Because a lot of it's being repeated, just not probably behind closed doors or, you know?
So, I mean, you think teachers is the most underrated profession?
Yeah, man. For real. Seriously. You gotta understand, like, this is our future. If they don't become these doctors, lawyers, police officers, more teachers, community leaders, who is gonna do it? Even sports is declining. You know why? Because most sports positions are volunteer. You know? Who's gonna do that? You think this generation gonna grow up and do that?
Sports, you mean like coaching or like?
Yeah, just coaching positions, and which means there's less opportunities. You know, like, man, like to me, Minneapolis public schools sports is definitely like declining a little, and I would start with that zoning thing. The new zoning we did, it affected sports a lot because a lot of people went out to other districts, or you know was forced in other districts, or charter schools, private schools. So we have students transferring out, going to play elsewhere.
And is that simply because of transportation though?
No, in the zoning, when I say the zoning part, I ain't meaning like transportation. I'm meaning like if I'm going to Southwest and then the zoning changed and now they're forcing me to go to North High School.
I know, but I'm saying if you still wanted to go to Southwest, you wouldn't have a bus though, right? Because you're out the zone, right?
But there's no buses in high school.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? So you're already responsible for getting yourself to school.
Right.
Which is, to me, is like, you know, I understand we have the bus shortage and that's possibly why we had to do that. But
the bus shortage, like
yeah,
bus drivers?
Yeah, bus driver shortage. I think that's why, you know, they took them out of high school because, you know, that's a lot of buses during that time.
And it can go off for middle school and elementary.
Exactly. And see, when high schools are getting out of high school, so is elementary. Elementary's out at 2:30, high school's out at 3. Imagine how many buses that is at one time. You know? But
no, for sure. If you could lead the people off with something, what would you tell them?
Definitely just support the youth as much as possible. It don't matter how, any way, giving back, and just teaching them, you know, to be motivated to become something other than what they see exactly on TV. Like, find your passion. Understand that these different careers are important as well, you know, and just live with no excuses every day. And your day, you know, your tomorrow will be even better.
For sure. Well, I appreciate it. You heard it here on Address It from Wanda Carter. No excuses.
Always.